Our last writer of the day, I really need no introduction. This guy coined the term cyberspace right out of the gate, and then he kept, a lot of people wouldn't be able to follow that, and he just kept expanding and deepening this amazing dark universe that he kind of lives in. People also don't know he coined the term bootylicious and Wessonality, and he does not get credit for those, and I think that's wrong. I think that's very wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason your kids are looking at a BlackBerry and texting and not talking to you, Mr. William Gibson. William Gibson, ladies and gentlemen, here he comes.
Say it's midway through the final year of the first decade of the 21st century, and say that last week 2 things happened. Scientists in China announced successful quantum teleportation over a distance of about 10 miles, while other scientists in Maryland announced the creation of an artificial self-replicating genome. Now, in this particular version of the 21st century, which happens to be the one we're all in today, neither of these things attracted as much attention as the final episode of Lost. Now, you know, with quantum teleportation, there's no actual matter transferred, but information is conveyed across distance without resorting to a signal in any traditional sense. So it's not really teleportation, but still, it's the word teleportation used seriously in a headline. It's like, you know, I'm reading this and saying, no kidding, teleportation. But, you know, I only really felt a slight amazement. And that synthetic genome in Maryland, which is arguably artificial life, that felt less amazing. It's the sort of thing one feels might already have been achieved somehow, or was that in a movie? But it's artificial life in Maryland. But those artificial life scientists also inserted a line of James Joyce's prose into their genome. And that triggers, you know, the sense of the surreal for me. Even though they did it for a really practical reason, they did it to incorporate a yardstick, a measure for the ongoing rate of random mutation. So, right this minute, quite literally, a short length of James Joyce's prose is being very slowly pummeled into incoherence by cosmic rays. But when I found myself confronted with these 2 pieces of more or less simultaneous news, my imagination, which grew up on countless popular images of exactly this sort of thing, could only produce a tabloid headline: synthetic bacteria in quantum free space teleportation shocker. And when I was a boy, Alvin Toffler warned us about future shock. So is this future fatigue? And for the past decade or so, the only critics of science fiction I pay any attention to, all 3 of them, have been slyly declaring that the future is over. Now, I wouldn't blame anyone on first hearing that for assuming that it's akin to premature declarations that history itself is over. But really, I think they're talking about the capital F future, which in my lifetime has been a cult, if not a religion. People my age are products of the culture of the capital F future. The younger you are today, the less you're a product of that. If you're 15 or so, in 2010, you inhabit a sort of endless digital now, a state of atemporality enabled by our increasingly efficient communal prosthetic memory. But you probably don't know it because, as anthropologists tell us, we have a very hard time comprehending our own culture. The future, the argument goes, capital F, be it crystalline city on the hill or radioactive post-nuclear wasteland, is gone. Up ahead of us now, there is merely more stuff, events, some tending to the crystalline, some to the wastelandy stuff. The mixed bag of the ongoing quotidian. Now, please don't mistake this for one of those after us, the deluge moments on my part. I've always found those appalling, and most particularly when uttered by aging futurists, who of all people should know better. This newfound state of no future is, in my opinion, a very good thing. It indicates a new kind of cultural maturity, an understanding that every future is someone else's past, every present someone else's future. Upon arriving in the capitalized future, we discover it invariably to be the lowercase now. The best science fiction has always known that, but it was a sort of cultural secret. When I began to write fiction at the very end of the 70s, I was fortunate to have learned as an undergraduate that imaginary futures are always, regardless of what their authors might have believed, about the day in which they're written. Orwell knew it, writing 1984 and 1948. I knew it writing my own first novel, which was published in 1984. Neuromancer, that novel, though it's careful never to admit it, is set in the 2030s, when there's something like the internet called cyberspace, and a complete absence of cell phones, which I'm sure young readers assume must be a key plot point. More accurately, there's something like cyberspace